Hey, this is John Mark, pastor with Cottonwood Creek. Just wanted to drop in and deal with the difficult question, or really kind of a myth that a lot of people throw at Christianity, and in light of what is going on in Russia and Ukraine with in an unprovoked manner. Russia has attacked Ukraine. And so really there's a myth a lot of times that people will use and throw at Christians, and they will say something like, religion is responsible for most wars throughout history. And a lot of times we don't know how to respond, or they won't say religion is responsible for most wars. Sometimes it'll be more direct. Christianity is responsible for more wars in history, or they might even go further and say, most people killed in wars are killed because of religion. A lot of times we don't know how to respond to that. So I thought I'd take this opportunity just to help give you the answer. So if someone ever says, most of the time a war is started because of religion, you want to know the answer to the question, is that true? Is that really true? And so I just thought I'd do a little research for you and share this with you as people attack Christianity. Just as I was preparing for this, I just did a quick Google search, and it amazed me that some very popular atheists will just make that statement in their books, in their best-selling books. Here's one of the statements: religion is the most potent source of human conflict, past and present. And a lot of times people who are unbelievers, they will just read that statement and assume it's true. So the question is it really true? And I want you to know, as a follower of the faith, as a Christian, if someone ever states that religion is not just Christianity, any religion, that religion is the cause of most wars throughout history, you can state unequivocally that is patently and provably false. It's just simply not the case. Let's just start with the idea of wars. How many wars in the history of the world that we know about have been started because of religion? You can go to one place. I would encourage you with this, is just go to the Encyclopedia of Wars. You don't have to go buy one. It's a big 3-volume set. And in this Encyclopedia of Wars, it basically categories all the conflicts, all the wars in the history of the world that we know about. And there have been, talking about what is defined as a war, there have been 1,763 wars throughout our history. Just talking about the history of the world, not just America, the history of the world. Not only do they categorize the war, the conflict, who it was between, but they also state the cause. Of those 1,763 wars, how many do you believe, how many do you think were caused by religion, or it was a religious conflict? I'll tell you the exact number. You can go find this in the Encyclopedia of Wars. It's exactly 123. 123 of the wars throughout history have been started because of a religious conflict. So 123 out of 1,763, well, if you divide that, just do the math. What does that mean? That's 6.98%. Let me say that again. Less than 7% of all conflicts throughout the history of the world have been started because of religion. And that includes all religions. That includes Hindus, Christians, Muslims. 6.9%. Less than 7% of all wars are started because of religion. So if someone says to you, religion causes most wars, that is patently and provably false. Just tell them, have you really looked that up, or are you willfully choosing to believe something that is a lie? And interestingly enough, even in that 7%, don't forget that includes Islam, that includes Christianity, that includes Hinduism, that includes every other religion in the world. And if you take the Muslim or the Islamic wars out of that 7%, just remove those, it's only 3% of all wars have been started by all other religions combined. So, statement number one, most wars in the history of the world have been started because of religion. Totally false. Less than 7% for all religions, less than 3% for all religions except for Islam. Here's the second thing they will say. Most of the loss of life or human suffering that has taken place in war has happened because of religion. Here's one. I Googled this. Somebody said the Crusades, we know the Christian Crusades, happened over 900 years ago, by the way. They will say the Crusades slaughtered millions in the name of Jesus. Then the Inquisition, that's usually the second thing they will talk about, the Spanish Inquisition. The Inquisition brought the torture and murder of millions more. Notice, again, very popular atheist writer makes a statement. The Crusades killed millions as well as the Inquisition killed millions. Is that true? Can I tell you again? That is patently and provably false, because if you ask anybody to do the math and do the numbers, both the Crusades, that were, by the way, over 900 years ago, the Spanish Inquisition, over 500 years ago, guess what? Combined total loss of life, 200,000 people. Wait. They're using the word millions and millions and millions over and over again. And guess what? It is patently and provably false. So as you think about that, how many were actually killed? 200,000 in the Crusades. And by the way, that's a total max number. It's 200,000 too many, let's be honest. But it's 200,000, 900 and 500 years ago. Just think in the last 100 years or so. What about these three atheist leaders? What about Hitler? What about Mao? And what about Stalin? Just those three leaders, guess what? Over 100 million deaths. And those atheistic leaders were willing to kill their own people to achieve the power they desired for their atheistic government. So as you think through that, 200,000, perhaps as many as that, killed in the Crusades and the Inquisition, 100 million just killed by three people in the last 100 years, a little over 100 years. Guess what? Divide 200,000 by 100 million, and what do you get there? It is crazy. It is less than 0.2%. Those two Christian wars, 500 and 900 years ago, compared to three atheistic rulers in just a little over the last 100 years, less than 0.2%. So, is the number of lives, or the number of lives that have been lost because of Christian or religious wars, greater than those by atheistic wars? Absolutely not. It's patently and provably false. So here's the final thought, okay? If someone says, religion causes most wars, you say absolutely not. If someone says to you, because of those religious wars, more people in history have died because of religion than any other wars that are out there, you can say that's patently and provably false. So here's kind of my summation for this. Listen, if you want to start a war, and just like we're seeing in the Ukraine, man, if you want to start a war, make sure an atheist leads your country. Think about this. World War I, was that a religious war? Absolutely not. World War II, was that a religious war? Absolutely not. What about the Korean conflict? Was that a religious war? Absolutely not. What about Vietnam? Was that a religious war? Absolutely not. What about the Middle East wars of the recently? Were those religious wars? Absolutely not. Saddam wanted Kuwait's oil. What about Russia and Ukraine? Is that a religious war? Absolutely not. So what's the summation? What's the final thought? Here it is. If you want to inflict torture and start a war, torture on humanity, and see amazing loss of life, if you want to start a war, hire an atheist. He's the man for the job. Hope this helps.